Yeah, Ruiz.
So yes, we are just starting. Great to see you. Sorry for all people who are wondering. The video is loading at some point. Um, but you can see my picture, so that's how I'm looking like today actually as well. So just imagine me speaking from that. My name is Lothian Pullman. I am the co-spokesperson of the Global Young Greens and your moderator for today. Great that so many of you have joined. Lovely to see. So our topic today, as you see, is youth participation in international structures, because we want to talk with you about who's deciding our future. And we have four amazing speakers here, which I will give at the start. We'll give the floor for 5 minutes each to just say a bit about their activism or their political work, and that you get a bit of an impression where they come from politically and also regionally. And then we go over to some prepared questions, and depending on the time, might be able to take some of your questions on as well. Let's see. So I will first introduce the speakers, and then maybe in the row of me introducing you, you can just go 5 minutes each. And meanwhile, I'll try to convince Zoom that my face could be shown as well. Let's see. So who we have here? We have here Jamajai Tiwari, the Secretary General of the Global Young Greens from the Asia Pacific region. We have Lois Maldonado, Regional Coordinator for the Americas in our GYG Steering Committee, and from the Americas region, surprisingly. Then we have Asia Goska, Regional Coordinator for Europe in our Steering Committee, from Europe. And then from Africa, we have Jado, the Regional Coordinator for Africa in our Steering Committee. So maybe Jamajay, you want to start with the first 5 minutes of where you come from and how you ended up in international structures as a young politician.
Thanks, thanks, Ilian, and thanks to the Global Greens, and also, firstly, congratulations to the Global Greens and all of us on this 25th anniversary of the Global Greens. Uh, as Lilian already explained or briefed about me, I'm Janmej. I'm from India. I've been an activist in India since I was the age of 14, and I've been in this circuit for around 11, 12 years now in the local activism. Uh, but Global Greens was the one which gave me the opportunity to get involved or with the international structure of the Global Greens, or to be uh, in the presence of this international network, of the amazing network that is there. So I was first able to attend the Global Greens and the Global Young Greens Congress in 2017 in Liverpool, which indeed provided me a platform to be involved with the Global Young Greens, to grow as an individual, to grow as an activist, not just at locally, but also at the transnational level, to get that opportunity to learn from a lot of activists from the global south, from the global north, and all the amazing young greens that are working there. And as we are discussing today about like the importance of young people in politics, I think we have to first also see how difficult it is for young people to be in the politics, uh, and not just at international level, but at national level as well. Particularly talking about the region of the Asia Pacific or the region of the global south, we see how difficult it is for young people to first contest the elections or to be at the mainstream of the politics, where our future is being decided and we don't have the voice. It's much more difficult because of the electoral systems that are there. In many of the countries in the global south, we don't see the proportional representation, which gives young people basically the voices. So it's usually the first past the post system, where you don't really have the opportunity, the use of money and muscle power, which is very difficult for a young person to get into the parliaments or their local councils. So it is very difficult, not just at the international level. It starts from the very beginning. It starts at the grassroots levels for the young people to be seen, to get to work for their rights. So the difference, there is a lot of difficulty for young people to be in politics. But these difficulties improve a lot for the young people or young activists from the global south. And when they try to enter the politics at the international level, or when they try to be at the transnational platforms where they want to have their stories, because the stories that are there in the global south, it's very important that those stories come out at transnational levels, that those stories get the platform which it deserves. But the more difficult it becomes when it comes from grassroots or national level to the transnational level because of so many barriers that I myself have faced. And we, as Global Young Greens, and in my journey along with my colleagues who are here and who have been there since 2017, we have also tried to bridge that gap because the difficulties in the language, the time zone differences, the lack of knowledge about these platforms, the financial difficulties for young people to travel for even for simple conferences, if not for any particular big event or the platform which is there. So a lot of things that are that act as a barrier for young people to be there in the international space. And this is what we have also tried with the Global Young Greens to bridge that gap, to have those success stories of young people who are already elected. Maybe in Europe, we have seen amazing young people and a young member of European parliaments who are there, who have who have given us the hope as well. And we have tried to connect that global north, global south bond, that knowledge sharing through capacity building, and also giving motivation to young people in the global south and not just and around the world to contest, to at least raise their voice and try to provide them the platform to as much as we can with our limited capacity that we have in the Global Young Greens. But that's what our aim of the Global Young Greens have been there, to represent the voices of the Global South. And that's what we have tried to do, even in all the platforms that we get through the conference of parties or other the SBs, the bond conferences or the CBDs, that whatever we get, we try to have those stories of young people get presented at the national and the international level and try to support as much as we can and connect them with the young politicians who are selected maybe in Australia, where the young Greens are strong or the Greens are strong, where we have so many young parliamentarians within New Zealand, in a lot of Europe I've already talked about, to try to connect them, to give them that motivation that, okay, there are people, there are young people who are there, who are already doing what we can also do. But again, we do need a lot of support. We do need a lot of collaboration. We do need a lot of uh, global north, global south, south collaboration to have that sort of impact. And we as Global Young Greens have that platform. I think this is the, we have said it quite a lot of time that this is the only party that we can call a global party because of the charter of the Global Greens that we follow, and because of the network that we have in Asia Pacific, Americas, Europe, and Africa, and because of the amazing activists that we have all over the world who follow the same thought. There can be differences in so many things, but at least the thought behind the ideology behind is the same, and everyone is fighting for the same bigger cause. And this is what we have also tried through different channels, and also for at least for the young people to be participatory in national international politics. We have also break the barriers of just ideologies. We have tried to work with the young Greens who are liberals, who are conservatives through the NDI, but Global Young Greens has done with the amazing support from the steering committee and my colleagues. We did try to at least have some common minimum program for in the field of climate change, in the field of youth participation, in the field of visas, because we have seen it. I started with my journey in 2017, which I mentioned, but around 80% of the visas in the 2017 Congress was rejected were from Africa. So we have also tried to bridge that to have that, give that opportunity for people in the global south, and specifically young people from the global south, irrespective of their ideology, irrespective of if they belong to the Greens or the liberals or the conservatives. So that's what we have also tried. We have not got so much success on that front, but still we have tried, and I think we will be continuing trying. I know we already started late, so I would not take too much of time, but I am happy to answer the further questions or if there are any questions from the panel or the audience. Thanks.
Thank you for this great start. So we'll hand over to Lois. Please also tell us, how did you end up in the green movement and especially in international structures, and what is your perspective as a young person on that?
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Hola, muy buenas tardes. Agradecida por estos espacios que suman cada día a los verdes en el mundo. Hoy cumplimos años y no hay nada más bonito que ser verde, y porque mi país está polarizado. Y soy una persona que comenzó haciendo política verde en Venezuela, marcando la diferencia ante dos sistemas extremos que lo único que han imposibilitado es el accionar de un país democrático que mantenga justicia social y que sobre todo respete al planeta. La forma en la que entro dentro del movimiento ecológico de Venezuela y me convierto en verde fue un golpe y una bendición. Me convertí en la primera concejal verde pura. Luego fui diputada regional del estado Miranda en mi país. Actualmente trabajo con el Ejecutivo como coordinadora de relaciones institucionales y sé que estas son algunas de los inicios que como joven tengo para seguir trabajando por lo que ya hemos trabajado tanto en la internacional como en la nacional, los principios y valores verdes. La verdad que comenzar a hablar de qué es un verde, no solamente en mi país, sino en la región, representa un reto. Los problemas o las acciones políticas polarizadas que hoy se vive en América Latina imposibilita la lucha de los verdes. Pero nosotros hacemos innovación política y los jóvenes, tanto los jóvenes verdes de las Américas como los jóvenes de la Global Young Greens, de la internacional, tenemos mucha conciencia de esta información y de lo que representa ser un verde y un político verde en el mundo. Nosotros llevamos el activismo de base hacia una gobernanza de resultados. Nuestra posición fundamenta la democracia climática y sobre todo la protección de los ciudadanos y de quienes no tienen voz en el mundo. Hablar de los jóvenes verdes de las Américas, para mí, como copresidenta ejecutiva de la organización y representante ante la Mundial de los Jóvenes Verdes, representa un orgullo, pues los resultados en los últimos años, en los últimos 5 años, han sido favorables y podemos nombrar dos casos como ejemplo. En Colombia, somos la primera fuerza juvenil alternativa con 493 curules en consejos de juventud, diputados y alcaldes. En México, esta fuerza se consolida con 62 diputados federales y 14 senadores liderando comisiones estratégicas, y entre ellos siendo inclusivo el tema de la juventud. Pero este crecimiento no solamente es parte de estos dos países que son pilares en América Latina, sino que también tenemos desde Canadá hasta Chile, pasando por Venezuela, donde el juvenil del partido ahora es el secretario general y el diputado verde, el diputado nacional verde de Venezuela. Guatemala, Bolivia, Brasil, Perú y República Dominicana son partidos que hoy construyen la innovación ecopolítica. En cada uno de estos partidos y en cada uno de estos países, los jóvenes están haciendo un trabajo extraordinario para que la ecopolítica sea una fuerza electoral real, competitiva y transformadora como la conocemos. Este crecimiento como jóvenes ha sido impulsado desde los Jóvenes Verdes de las Américas a través de un pacto verde que fue la iniciativa que nos impulsó a generar debates ideológicos para entender cómo se aplica la ideología verde en nuestros países y sobre todo buscar una agenda común que nos favorezca. Ha sido una herramienta para ampliar la mirada, permitiéndonos pasar por las ideas y los acuerdos, promover acciones a nuestros jefes de partido y promover acciones como jóvenes dentro de nuestros partidos y fuera de ellos. Más allá de un documento político, el Pacto Verde ha tejido una red fraternal de apoyo que no solamente ha sido entre las Américas, sino que trasciende las regiones y nos ha permitido conocer las visiones de Europa, de Asia, de Medio Oriente y ver cómo los verdes, desde su espacio de poder, transforman un país. Nuestra posición en el 2026 es que la juventud esté profesionalmente conectada y sobre todo que tenga muy
Excuse
claro
me.
los valores y principios.
Sorry, I'm very sorry to interrupt you. Can the interpreters make sure they are in the correct channels, please? We are struggling and seem to have French in the English channel, which means that our other translators and interpreters are not able to interpret correctly. Please, all interpreters, make sure you are in the correct channels. I'm very sorry for interrupting you, and thank you. Please continue to present.
Ok, gracias. Bueno, y para finalizar este mensaje, básicamente nosotros estamos para fomentar una red de jóvenes que no solamente trabaje por la ideología verde, sino que apoye a todos los jóvenes verdes políticos a ocupar más espacios de poder y llevar los principios y valores de la ideología verde a donde no llegamos para transformar hoy el país que queremos. Entonces, esta es la intervención. América siempre ha estado dispuesta y siempre va a trabajar en alianza con todos los jóvenes del mundo para hacer la voz en cualquier espacio donde tengamos que hacerlo. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much, and I hope still most of you got the most of it. Okay, there's again a friend in the English language I'm hearing while I'm speaking to you. So maybe there's still an issue, but while this is hopefully resolved, I'll hand over to you, Jado. Please also, how did you end up in international structures, and how do you see international politics as a young green from Africa?
All right, thank you. Just thank you everyone who is here, and happy 25th anniversary for Global Greens. So next, Karen. Karen?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to pass it.
It's all right. For too long, a decision affecting young people have been made without their input. Today we are here to change that narrative. Since 2001, the Global Greens movement has been shaping a new political culture grounded in ecology, democracy, social justice, and peace. In 2007, the Global Young Greens was founded, creating a powerful platform for young people to organize, connect, and across the world. Over the years, this movement has grown into a strong global network, ensuring that youth are represent in international discussion, ranging from the climate negotiation to governance. Next. Now, let's bring this closer to home, my Africa, and particular in Rwanda. In Rwanda Truth, the Democratic Green Party of Rwanda, and across the Africa in general, we strongly believe in bottom-up approach. Real change does not begin at the top. It begins with the people. It begins with the youth. This approach empowers young people to take decisions themselves from grassroots communities to national and international platforms. Next. Over 60% of Africa's population is composed of young people. This is not a weakness, it is our greatest strength. Young Africans are ready for reading climate action movement, promoting democratic value, advocating for accountability and transparency, and breeding solution for their communities. However, we must be honest, here is still a gap. Youth participation is often limited, sometimes merely symbolic, and rarely decisive. Next, Karen. Decisive. That is why today we are making a clear and respectful call to our party leaders and all readers. Give young people a real seat at the table. We are calling for a youth representation in parliament, youth inclusion in top party leadership position, and this is meaningful for participation in decision-making process. Next. We also respectfully call all Africa party leaders to establish their youth structure. This is what will help us to establish the Africa Young Greens Federation and participate actively in global Young Greens. When young people are included, policy became more sustainable, more inclusive, and more future-oriented. Our voice is not noise. It is a solution. Allow me to repeat it again. Our voice is not noise. It is a solution. Next. Let us not forget why this matters. We are fighting to protect our planet. To protect our planet is to protect our lives. Climate justice, Climate justice is not a environmental issue. It is a human issue. It is a youth issue. It is our future. So let us make this our top priority. Next. As we celebrate 25 years of Global Greens, let us reaffirm our commitment of empower youth, a commitment to empower to bottom-up democracy, a commitment to a sustainable and just world. Allow me to remind you this. Today, on April 17, 2010, AGF had its first Congress in Kampala, Uganda. Happy 16th anniversary for protecting our continent and the world in general. Next. To all young Greens all over the world, let's move from asking who is going to decide our future. Let's broadly declaring we are deciding our future. Allow me to repeat these things. Let us broadly declaring we are deciding our future. Go Greens! Happy 25th anniversary to all of us. Happy 60th anniversary to AGF. Thank you very much.
Thank you for those very, very important calls on everyone in the room. We'll move to the first intervention of our last speaker, but not least, of course. So that's Asha. You're from Europe, but especially Eastern Europe. So I'm asking you the same. How did you end up in international structures and what's your perspective on it?
Yeah, so given that my region is Europe and it's been already very important in the world for way too long, I don't want to take up too much of the time, especially after my excellent colleagues before. The way I want to say this, I joined the Greens kind of by accident, and mostly because I wanted to do something not for me, but for everyone, and to put others forward. I'm not really a very front-facing person. And coming from Eastern Europe, especially, what we often find ourselves in is that compared to the rest of Western Europe, we are quite lagging behind for multiple historical reasons. However, when we zoom out and we look at the world, we still have so much to give of our attention, of our work, of our resources to places who need them more, who activists, to regions who could very much use that help and our resources and our attention so we could push the whole world forward. This is also why I was interested in the global politics and the global activism, especially because it is a place that I'm not the one that is important, that everyone else is important, and I can use what I have to push others forward. In the same vein, I think that as the same way as Europe is not the front center of the stage, I think, but we still have so much access to so many places that get we get to make so many important decisions that affect the whole world. And our absolute responsibility is to make sure we use that power to affect change for the betterment of the whole world. The same way the adults in the room, let me say, have that responsibility to allow the youth to make those decisions as well. And this is what we are asking the adult Greens and all of the actors in the world who are not youth to allow us, to let us into the room, to let us make those decisions, and to let others as well, let others into the room. We have so much perspective that is valuable. And to be brutally honest, there is a lot of people currently in the world who are in their senior years, who are still world leaders, who are making decisions right now, which will not affect them at all. They will affect all of us. They will affect our children, our grandchildren, our families, all of the generations down the line. Our responsibility is to stop them and to help each other affect the world and change the world for the better, and stop ourselves from going to the brink of destructions as we already go. So this is what I'm asking from my small, now maybe a little bit big country in Eastern Europe. Let us help you and let the youth in the room. Thank you.
Thank you. And after this round, I think we've got a pretty good impression why you are doing what you're doing. So we touched upon it a bit, but let's get it explicit. So what are the challenges for young people to participate in international structures, conferences, and institutions? What are challenges for international youth organizations, maybe not even looking at the Global Young Greens, but also at your regional federations? And then maybe to also do the connection or establish the connection, how can others, maybe also especially others in this room, help? We touched on it already. We'll go a bit in a reverse order. Asha, I will still take your last if that's okay, and start with Jado this time, then Lois, and then Jamajay and Asha as well.
All right, thank you, Ryan. So as I said in my presentation, so I mentioned that Africa, we don't have what we call it's African youth or young structures. So I was calling to the African party leaders to establish that that structure. If they establish that structure, they will help us to have all the youth from Africa. So we make us to be strong. That's first. And to be active in international structures. For example, last few months ago, we established what we call East Africa Green Federation and the East African Youth Green Federation. And I am executive secretary of that organization. So this means that if every federation for Africa or the All Africa established that youth wings, the youth will be totally be active. And I really know that, and they have capacity. They have capacity of participating. They have capacity of doing some good things and to contribute to green principles like to protect our environment, to do something related with green. So I think without that barriers, our African youth will be very ready to participate in international structures. And the other things we see, we can see a barrier of language. Like many young people from like Africa, they don't speak English and don't speak French, so they speak their mother language. So it's barriers should go with that barriers, and then I think that we with the time it should be sorted out, and then we see how we can use that our opportunities have AGF, like in AGF we have to to use English, and all of us we are just on the same page. So I think next we will be good. Thank you.
Thank you. So, like, establishing a network of young Greens in the region, that kind of rang a bell. So maybe, Jamajay, what's your experience from Asia Pacific, and what do you would like to share in terms of challenges and help from others in the room that could be useful?
As I also mentioned in my presentation, and also would completely agree with what John mentioned, from Africa, there is no lack of capabilities, be it in the Africa or be it in the Asia Pacific that we have seen. And I would also like to agree with what Asha mentioned about we need a lot of adult Greens helping a lot in terms of establishing the language barrier, the barriers about information that I have touched in my presentation and also have been said. I would not try to be repetitive, but on the organizational part or the transnational network part, we did try to establish the Asia Pacific Young Greens Network, and there have been some success in establishing it, but there has been some re-establishment. There has been some difficulties in keeping the people motivated continuously for the years. That's where we need support, and that has not been there just with the Asia Pacific Young Greens, or that has been the case with the Africa Young Greens or the African Greens as well. That's where we have tried to build their regional Young Greens Federation, which is as strong as the adult Green Federation, and they get the more representation in the transnational network and have that sort of space to have their voices. The difficulties that are there is again there is it's sort of a vicious circle. It's quite difficult to answer it very straightforwardly because once you motivate people to join, then there is being there in Global Young Greens for almost 7-8 years now. I myself feel old in being in this circle, being 28. But I think there is a lot of dry work which happens for a period of months or maybe a year or so, which is quite a lot for a young people who is coming to a transnational network or a regional federation with so much of enthusiasm and so much of thinking that we can do a lot of things. But the dry part or the structural part of running an organization takes a lot out of you, and which is fair for people to also think that we are not moving forward, because actually it does take a lot of effort to just build an organization, build a regional network, and then to get some sort of activities going or some sort of, because I just take an example of Global Young Greens, and we did started Global Young Greens in 2010 as well, but after 2017 it got some of the pace. It got inside the UNFCCC platform, the COPs and the other congresses which we were able to do with. It took 10 or 11 years, and that does require a lot of effort. And the major problem is also it's all volunteer led. So we are also expecting young people to put a lot of time and effort with like free of cost. There is, I don't think, apart from FIEG, I'm not sure, there is no post in the Young Greens which is a paid post, not in the Africas. I'm also not sure about JVA. Maybe Lois can correct me and tell us about that. There is no executive secretary or something in the APYGN, which we have seen since 2015 that I know of. So it is very difficult. We are asking a lot from the Young Greens, and our lives are at stake. The decisions are taken on are being taken for us, and we are not at the table. Then we are being also asked to work on it, and then people who are doing, the activists who are doing it on a completely motivation basis and the skills that they have, but there is no reward as such, direct reward, and which should be there. You are always advocate for people being paid. There should be nothing as a free volunteer or free intern as Greens, but the reality is that there is no income to back that up as well. So it's kind of difficult, but I think we have come quite a bit far, at least for the Global Young Greens. I think there is still efforts for the Asia Pacific Young Greens, which I'm very sure that soon there would be an active, and I hope there would be an active Asia Pacific Young Greens network, and also Asia Pacific African Young Greens. And Jean already mentioned they've started a Eastern Young Greens, but hopefully I think that would be much more stronger Young Greens network regionally. And I think we as Global Young Greens have tried, and we will continue work to give the support that we can in our limited capacity to establish these young networks, because this becomes the basis of a global network like Global Greens or Global Young Greens.
Thank you. I'm very glad to notice that there's already people picking this up and potentially offering solutions for Young Greens in their regions in the chat. That's amazing. Please keep doing that while listening to our amazing speakers. And as you already were asked about JVA, so maybe Loris, you can tell us a bit from the struggles of JVA and where you are at and where help is still needed potentially, especially from people in the room. Loris?
Sí. Ok. Fíjense, América representa varios problemas todavía ambientales. Aparte de representar problemas ambientales, nosotros también luchamos con temas de política extremos, como le decía al principio. Las ideologías extremistas han dañado tanto a nuestros países en la región que ha promovido la intervención de un país potencia en otro. Y sobre todo en el intervenir en los territorios más ricos del país. Y aquí voy a tocar el tema de Venezuela, porque actualmente nosotros estamos trabajando la ley de minas y la ley de hidrocarburos, cuando nuestros principios y nuestros ideales van en contra de una minería ilegal, una minería que se ha encargado de promover la contaminación del agua, la deforestación, la trata de personas y sobre todo el etnocidio. Venezuela tiene algo llamado el Arco Minero de Venezuela, uno de los ecocidios y etnocidios más grandes del mundo. No solamente pasa con Venezuela, en Colombia sigue siendo uno de los primeros países con más persecución y asesinato de líderes ambientales. Brasil también encabeza esos números. Entonces, la región hoy enfrenta problemas. Y las voces, como lo decía el compañero de África, ciertamente no son voces que gritan, son voces de acción, voces de propuestas que transforman lo que hoy conocemos como las ideologías políticas tradicionales. Nuestra ideología, como lo decía al principio, es una innovación a la política, porque no solamente estamos haciendo política, estamos protegiendo nuestra casa en común. Y eso siempre lo converso con mi compañero Yameyá, por lo menos cuando tengo la oportunidad de encontrarme con ellos y con él en los encuentros de la ONU de cambio climático, donde vemos con preocupación cómo los líderes todavía no se comprometen de manera seria y real con la lucha contra el cambio climático. Entonces, estas son las problemáticas, pero no hay barrera que pueda con nosotros. Y apoyar a más jóvenes, como lo decía él también, a que ocupen puestos de poder, pero con una agenda que lleve la solución a tantos conflictos que hoy viven nuestros países.
Thank you so much. And then Asha, so what's your perspective? And if you want to touch on that without holding a half an hour lecture, which we wouldn't have time for, maybe you can also explain what's the challenge or the benefit of having two international networks that kind of cover your region.
Yeah, so I will, yes. So essentially in Europe, we have two regional federations, so to speak. So there's FIEG, the main one, the European, that's like part of the GYG structures. But there's also CDN, so it's Cooperation Development Network Eastern Europe, which is much less the Eastern Europe part of Europe. And I find that having this more specific regional federation is quite very useful. First, because we can like discuss a lot of the post-Soviet problems, a lot of the Balkan problems as well. A lot of our problems are very, very common and have very similar, or not even sometimes similar, but the causations and the problems are very tied together, right? So and especially all the things that are happening in the Balkans and between each other. That's a whole other thing. I'm not getting into it. I'm not from the Balkans. But it very much helps. It very much helps because it also helps establish a common voice for the specific part of the region, right? So I find it very helpful, especially when then we go to one Congress of CDN and then you go to the FIEC Congress, and then Eastern Europe is significantly more unified for some positions, which often the north of Europe and the west of Europe do not understand. So that's kind of my perspective. That I find that the more specific federations are maybe not even federations, but just organizations that bring us together more in the smaller of these regions are quite useful and quite helpful to refine our narratives and our what we want to say. Other than that, I also want to mention that also specifically for FIEC and CDN, we actually have, CDN also has paid staff. So FIEC has the most paid staff. I think it's like 7 paid positions. CDN has 3, and the rest of us have nothing. Yes. So I am not entirely sure how to solve this. I mean, there's definitely some money that could be, but I very much feel that this is also, this lies in Europe to, in my opinion, to bring this change about, and how we really need to, especially in the times that are as they are today, we really need to think long and hard. How are we supposed to facilitate? Broken regions who are extremely more susceptible to climate change. I mean, there are people coming to Europe as refugees who want to just live a better life and want to escape the absolutely sweltering heat that is happening and all of the climate catastrophe that happens. And what does Europe do? Shoot at people? I mean, that's our fault. That's entirely our fault, and we need to do something about this. And so we also, as green and youth structures, we also need to consider how do we bring this change about, how we support other regions also monetarily, how are we able to direct funds from European Union to the other parts of the world. Yes, maybe I'll finish here.
Thank you so much. I know that you could talk about this in a whole webinar for yourself alone, which we might pick up as Global Young Greens, so stay tuned. We started late, but already we now at the end of our session at the time. I would ask one final question to all of our speakers, but please be brief so that I can also do a proper closer of the session still without delaying the schedule too much. And this question would be, I mean, of course, we're all young, but all of us lived already 10 years ago. So what advice would you give your younger self looking back at your learnings that you got to gain up to today? And maybe you really think of yourself 10 years ago. I will start with Asha and then go the other way around that we had the last time. And then after that, we'll come to a close of the session.
So very quickly, what I would say to myself 10 years ago, you are not incompetent. You're just a little unrefined. You need to know a little bit of skills, but you have a lot to say. And a lot of the people who seem like they're very competent, have great media presence, can talk the talk, usually do not walk the talk. And you need to point it out, and you need to say that you are here to do work and not to just look. So very much challenge the people who you need to challenge each other to do as much as you can. And especially if you see people in power who are talking and not doing, yell it into the clouds, and you do work, because you know you will do the best work.
Thanks, Jean. What would you say?
Same or Jamaji? Okay,
Sorry, it's your turn. Yes, please.
All right, thank you very much. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. So if young Greens all over the world work together. So I think in the simple way, they achieve more. We would achieve more than like if we work together. We have one aim, like to protect our only what we have. Just we protect our to protect our only what we have. It's protect our life. So in one word, I should like my last message is like let's work together. I think we just achieve more than we think. Thank you very much. Thank you for attending this anniversary. It's a great honor to have you all. And allow me to pass a greeting from the young Greens from Rwanda and Africa in general. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Damanje, what would be your advice for your younger self?
And advice for me, for my younger self and or young people looking forward to join the transnational network is would be language is should not be a barrier. I mean the English that I'm speaking, it's more or less the growth that I had because of these online meetings. You just need good colleagues. I had the opportunity to to have those amazing colleagues who would always support you, to come out in front, to give you the confidence to speak. The other thing would be to don't not to wait for permissions, just also stealing the point what Asha said, that if there are adults also, even the agrees or not, or adults who are making decisions, don't wait for the permission to speak out loud and give your point. The last and a very important thing, which I'm realizing now, which for some people who know, is to does know about it, is to take care of yourself. The burnout is real in activism, and the burnout is too much in the transnational networks. You always need super volunteers. So this advice would be surely would be for my younger self and also for the people who are looking forward to joining the transnational networks, that do take care of your physical health, your mental health, and the fatigue and the burnouts. So yeah.
Very important. Thank you. So last but not least, Loris, what would you advise your younger self 10 years ago if you had the chance?
Con las cosas. Creo que cuando somos jóvenes somos muy impacientes y la impaciencia nos lleva a ser impulsivos y no pensar bien cuáles son los pasos que vamos a tomar para consolidar la acción. Ese fuese mi consejo para mi yo mucho más pequeño, o cuando hacía política estudiantil. Ese
Thank you so much. I think all of those are very, very important pieces of advice. So to all the people listening to us today, you might want to take them on yourself, but maybe also put them forward in the structures where you meet young Greens. I think it's important to get this advice. There are some things you don't necessarily need to learn yourself, and I think these pieces of advice give you hints what this could be. So thanks all for listening. Thanks to our amazing speakers for sharing your insights, your time, and also your experience. To everyone who's in the room and the Young Green and has not been involved with Global Young Greens yet, please go to our website, globalyounggreens.org. It's pretty straightforward. There's no other signs in it, just globalyounggreens.org. Please visit the website. You will find our contact information if you want to get involved. Please just contact us or follow us on our social media channels. And there will be an election event in June, so you might want to already save the date of the 27th of June if you're a Young Green, to just maybe visit it and see and got to know who wants to be in the next steering committee, as our term will come to an end this year and then there will be new elections. So we are very, very much looking forward to have an option to include all of your amazing Young Greens that are maybe listening or that you know in your parties and could still motivate either themselves or others to join the Global Young Greens. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks to our speakers. And then I wish you an amazing closing of the Global Greens 25th anniversary. And of course, also in the name of the Global Young Greens, happy 25th anniversary to the Global Greens as a whole. Thank you so much.